Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling something I like to call defeating dampness. We're zooming in on a massive, honestly, often completely invisible issue, and I'm speaking directly to you, the residents of Marion, West Memphis, and all of Crittenden County. Look, if you live right across the river from Memphis, you already know the drill, right? We're dealing with a highly unique Mississippi floodplain climate. We've got those brutally humid summers, those surprise storm cells that can literally drop 2 inches of rain in an hour, and ground that just sits wet for days. So, today we're going to unpack exactly why this specific climate is the absolute perfect storm for home damage, and much more importantly, how you can actually defeat it. Okay, let's dive right into this. Is your Arkansas home hiding a toxic secret? You know, the absolute craziest thing about mold isn't necessarily what you can see, it's what you can't see. By the time you finally spot that fuzzy patch on a baseboard or catch that unmistakable, musty odor, the colony has almost always been growing in secret. We're talking weeks, sometimes even months, of completely hidden growth. And hey, this isn't just an issue for those beautiful historic homes near downtown Marion. Even the newer, incredibly tight construction builds out in Sunset trap moisture in really unique ways, letting mold thrive completely unseen behind your drywall or deep inside your HVAC returns.
80%. Just think about that number for a second. That is the routine summer humidity level in the Memphis-metro area. When you combine that incredibly extreme, heavy moisture hanging in the air with the flood-prone clay soil of the river plain and those sudden Arkansas storm cells we all know so well, you've just created the exact environmental conditions that mold absolutely loves. It's really not a matter of if mold spores are present in your house. It's just a matter of when they find enough moisture to bloom into a full-blown colony.
So, how do we actually catch this stuff early? I want you to mentally run through a quick checklist for your own place right now. Do you notice a persistent musty smell whenever you walk into the laundry room? What about dark freckling, peeling paint, or strange water stains showing up on a closet wall? And please, don't ignore the physical symptoms either. Things like a persistent cough, unexplained headaches that seem to magically get worse when you're in a specific room, or sudden asthma flares. Even weird odors blowing out of your HVAC return are massive red flags. Ignoring these early warning signals, that is exactly how tiny, manageable problems mutate into huge, tear-your-hair-out repairs. Now, what's really interesting, and frankly a bit scary about this slide, is that indoor mold isn't just a gross nuisance, it's a legitimate CDC-classified health hazard. Take Stachybotrys, which most of us know as black mold. That stuff produces toxic mycotoxins directly linked to chronic respiratory illness. And then you have the incredibly common species we see constantly in Crittenden County homes, Aspergillus, Penicillium, and Cladosporium. These are aggressive allergens that drive severe sinus infections, asthma flares, and chronic fatigue. Kids, seniors, and anyone with a compromised immune system are just incredibly vulnerable to these spores. And beyond the severe health risks, we've got to talk about the stark financial reality here. Mold is a living organism, and it is hungry. It literally feeds on your home. It eats the drywall paper, the subfloor adhesive, the wood framing, even the dust sitting on your AC coils. If a small water intrusion is ignored for just one hot, humid Arkansas summer, that mold can entirely rot out a load-bearing stud bay. So a prompt $2,500 early remediation can easily, and I mean easily, snowball into a $25,000 structural reconstruction if you just let it sit there. So, the crucial point I really want to drive home is this. Please, do not try to fight this with a bottle of hardware store bleach. We need to bust the most dangerous DIY myth out there right now. Bleach removes the color, but it leaves the colony root entirely alive. Let me say that again. Bleach does not kill mold on porous surfaces like drywall or wood. It just makes it invisible. Even worse, bleach is mostly water. So when you spray it, you are literally just feeding the hidden root system the exact moisture it needs to grow even deeper into the material. Which brings us to the downright shocking reality of DIY failures. Picture this. You decide to spend your Saturday scrubbing a moldy patch on your wall. Because you aren't using professional containment, the second that scrub brush hits the wall, you disturb the colony. Bam! You've just launched millions of microscopic spores into the air. Those spores then get sucked straight into your HVAC system and spread to literally every other room in your house. By trying to save a buck and clean a $1,500 localized problem yourself, you can cross-contaminate your entire home and instantly create a $15,000 disaster. Let's move on and see how this builds into an actual, permanent solution. We're replacing the old flashlight and guesswork routine with true science, a certified 5-step professional remediation process. Step 1 is a rigorous inspection using high-tech thermal imaging and moisture meters. Step 2 is containment. Step 3 is the physical, completely safe removal of unsalvageable materials. Step 4 is structural drying. And finally, Step 5 is clearance verification. This entire sequence, it's completely non-negotiable if you actually want the mold gone for good.
I want to take a deep dive into step 2 real quick, because this is the step that literally protects the rest of your house. Containment means the pros come in and completely seal off the affected work zone using this heavy-duty poly sheeting. Then, they run these massive industrial HEPA-filtered negative air scrubbers. This creates a vacuum effect inside the room. It guarantees that while they're in there cutting out porous materials and treating hard surfaces, absolutely zero spores can drift into the clean, living areas of your home. It is quite literally surgical-level protection for your property. And this brilliantly illustrates the make or break phase. Step 4, the drying process. 16%. That is the magic threshold right there. If you just wipe away mold but leave the wall cavity damp, I promise you the mold will be back in a week. Professionals bring in commercial-grade dehumidifiers and high-velocity air movers, and they monitor the progress constantly. And here's the best part. They will not pack up their equipment until their calibrated moisture meters prove that the internal wood moisture content has dropped below 16%. That is the only way you ensure the mold starves and actually stays gone.
This right here is exactly why you need local experts who intimately know the housing stock up and down the I-55 corridor, from Marion and Sunset all the way over to Earl and Crawfordsville. They offer completely free on-site inspections if you have active water damage. They handle the direct insurance billing so you aren't caught paying out of pocket needlessly. But most importantly, they finish the job with Step 5, a post-remediation verification. This is a third-party lab air test that hands you a written, lab-backed record proving your home is 100% clean. That document is absolute gold for your insurance carrier, or if you ever decide to sell the house down the line.
So, what's the game plan? If you live anywhere in Crittenden County and even just suspect a mold issue, please do not wait for it to spread into a massive structural or health crisis. The Mold Remediation Hotline is 332-220-0303. They offer free phone consultations, a completely free inspection, and a 24/7 emergency response. You literally have a local, highly professional team ready to implement this exact certified scientific process to protect your home.
Which brings us to our final, pretty heavy question for this explainer. Are you going to let mold quietly take over your home, compromise your family's health, and destroy your financial investment? Or are you going to trust the 5-step certified process and call 332-220-0303 today? Seriously, do not risk a DIY disaster. Make the call, get the actual facts, and protect your space. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you on the next explainer.